Thanks for watching. Let's look at Chen style Tai Chi's old frame and new frame. Comparing the two, we'll look at some of the details that make these two approaches or these two frames different. And then we want to look at the broader concept of how to compare them so we don't get lost in the details. But first, Chen style Tai Chi has two manners of doing the traditional routine. There's the old frame, Lao Jia, and then there's new frame, Xin Jia. Lao Jia is something like this. Whereas new frame there. The standard important details that are emphasized, we'll look at three of them. First one is weight distribution. So weight distribution with old frame is about 70-30. Whereas with new frame, it's 60-40. So in other words, it's much more centered. For old frame, the emphasis is on a motion that takes us from one side to the other, like this. This is different than new frame, where the movement is much more centered and there's much more emphasis on dantian rotation, this kind of motion here. So weight distribution is one of the important distinctions between old frame and new frame. The other two distinctions and everything that follows from that is basically a lot more circles. And secondly, in the traditional new frame routine, there's a lot more fajin. So, starting from here. So on and so forth. Compared to old frame, so basically it's explained that the new frame takes all the foundations from the old frame and then adds more of the martial techniques and applications. And so these are much more detailed and in the routine as opposed to just implied. And so, of course, the end result is that it makes it much harder to learn new frame. Paying attention to the details, so the weight distribution, learning the extra additional parts of the motions is a requirement, as is understanding how to do fajin, the explosive power. So if you put your attention to those things, those details, then you will make good progress in being able to learn and distinguish between these two versions of the Tai Chi routine. The big picture that helps us not get lost in the details is to understand that there's a saying that in old frame, the body leads and the hands follow. Whereas in new frame, the hands lead and the body follows. This is a useful distinction, though there is one small thing which we have to avoid falling into. With the second half of this phrase, the hands lead, the body follows. It's easy to then decide that it's the hands that are important. But of course, if we remember the very beginning learning of Tai Chi, the learning of Tai Chi, there's always the awkward stage where people are doing the Tai Chi and they're just doing the Tai Chi with their hands. Their body's not involved at all. And it's like, ooh, there's a lot of learning that needs to happen to get someone from that stage to the past the beginner stage, which is involve the body. And so doing new frame doesn't mean that we go back to what we were doing incorrectly when we were first learning. There has to be an additional nuance. So the old frame is body leads and the hands follow, so that we have this integrated, nice connected feeling of application of the movement and of the power. The power of the move comes through from the center of the body. In New Frame, that source of the power isn't changed. It's just that the timing of things is offset, so that we come through here, create a motion, and then the power of the body follows through. So this is the distinction of how old frame and new frame should be viewed. And it's useful in part because it says that they're different. It's not that one is better than the other. It's that the two train two different versions of the routine for different ends. The old frame to build the internal power and the foundational skills, and the new frame to build on that by adding in some more of the martial techniques and applications. So I hope that information is helpful for you. Keep training, keep practicing, and take care.